Focal Point's actually been around for over 10 years in its current state, if you will. And it's a collaboration between Brian Tracy, who's world-renowned business coach, helped tens of thousands of businesses worldwide, and a gentleman by the name of Steve Thompson, who's the president of Focal Point. And there was another partner in there who unfortunately is deceased. His name's Cam Frazier. He and Brian are the ones that kind of created this industry that I get to participate in and many others get to participate in. And it's morphed itself over the years as businesses have morphed and needs have changed. And I get to come in at this amazing time here where things have definitely changed. You could say they've changed over the last 10 years, but they've obviously changed over the last 5 to 6 months, generating need to help business owners be more strategic about what they're doing and really providing a ton of value for that intentional growth. Because let's face it, and Lisa as a coach, Rachel as a business owner, by the way, hi, we can connect a little bit later. And Jeff as a life coach, I'm sure you guys come across the stresses that there are with the clients or even yourself as a business owner. And so what I love about the Focal Point material, and again, leaning on Brian Tracy and everything he's built for us, is being able to bring those owners, those entrepreneurs up out of I like to use the analogy of swimming and snorkeling in a swimming pool. Okay. So when you snorkel in a swimming pool, you stare at the bottom of the pool, you're working in your business. I come alongside of you and pick your head up so you can see the strategy around the top. So take a breath and get working on the intentionality of growing that business.
Very cool. And what do you have for us today?
Well, since it's the afternoon, Randy, and it's a little later for me than it is you guys, since you're in the central, or at least most or all of you are in the central time zone, I'm in the Eastern time zone, I figured that we would do something a little interactive so that we'd stay awake. And I put away the multi-slide PowerPoint presentation so nobody would fall asleep. Because when I share my screen, I know half of you will disappear, and of course you don't know which half, so you can't all just close your eyes and nod off. But we thought we'd do something a little interactive.
Sure, let's do it.
And so the interaction today, you're going to need a piece of paper. Hopefully you have a writing implement handy or a piece of paper handy. When you think of any successful business person, either past or present, and so by interactive, you'll want to unmute yourself because we're just going to shout words at each other. When you think of characteristics, qualities of a business person that you would deem successful, what are the words that come to mind?
Trustworthy.
Trustworthy.
Accountable.
I'm sorry?
Accountable.
Accountable. Great one.
Connected.
Connected.
Passionate.
Passionate. Let's get a dozen or so. Let's get a bunch.
Servant leader.
Ooh, servant leader. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good one. There's so many good ones. I'm trying to think of everything I think of is just a BNI core value. So we've got 7 right there.
And from what I do, I'll tell you, kind and compassionate have to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good one. And honest, I think that sometimes you need to know like when to cut, when like to tell a customer no, to stay with Jeff's trustworthy piece.
Big one for me is integrity.
Yeah, integrity, fearless.
Visionary.
Committed.
Disciplined.
That's a good one.
Philanthropic, I think, is one.
There's that giver's gain.
There you go. Can't stay away from it.
It's ingrained.
I know.
1 or 2 more, maybe?
Inspirational.
And I think fiscally responsible, which is the nicer way of saying that the first successful business person I can think of from my hometown when I grew up was kind of a tightwad. So better way to say that.
So the heading for this conversation had to deal with attitude. Okay, we all know that attitude is hugely important, having a positive attitude, having a positive mindset. But what else? There are two other components that are going to make up a successful business person or just a successful business in general. Any guesses what those other two components are besides attitude?
You got to have the know-how, right? The
I'm sorry?
knowledge. You got to have the know-how or the knowledge.
Knowledge is one. Very good.
Okay.
One other.
Skills.
Skills. Excellent. So this what we're now discussing is called the Carnegie Triangle from the Carnegie Foundation. Okay. And so now what I'd like you to do is draw a triangle with skills and knowledge on, say, left and bottom of your triangle, and the word attitude for the right side of your triangle. So I know the reflection through my windows is a little intense, but it would look something like this.
Yeah, I can't see that.
Without the disappearance into my background. Okay. Now, how on a percentage scale from 1% to 100%, how important do you think each of those categories are?
Based on your triangle, I would say they're equally, right?
Equally. So 33 and a third all the way around?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. What if I would have drawn an obtuse triangle? Would that have given you a different?
Probably.
Since I drew an equilateral triangle, I guess it made sense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think attitude, from a perspective of building a business, and building a business with a team, attitude is going to be a little bit higher.
Okay.
I think, than skills and knowledge. Skills and knowledge you can develop. You can develop those in your people. You can develop those in yourself. But the attitude, the way that you lead a company, your natural talents and strengths.
Okay. So what percentage do you think attitude would be out of 100?
Nobody told me there was going to be math.
I'll do the math for you. You just tell me what percentage you want attitude to be.
You know, I'm gonna put out there 60%,
60%.
just for
Okay.
putting a number out there.
Okay. So that
Because
would
I'll
mean,
tell you, when I started a business, I didn't know anything. It was
Yep.
probably a good thing, because if I would have, I don't know if I would have done it.
yeah, right. Yes. When we learn what we didn't know and it's too late to do anything about it, we just keep rolling, right?
Gotta have a good attitude about it.
So Jeff, if you're going with 60% for attitude, that means 20% for skills and 20% for knowledge.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I told you I would do the math. My background, actually, I'm an engineer by degree. So me and math, we get along okay.
I should have made it harder.
All right. So we have 60-40 or 60-20-20, and we have 33 and a third all the way around. We good with those two? Anybody want to take a stab at anything different?
I was thinking maybe 75 and 12.5 and
I was gonna
12.5.
say, now you're making it difficult. Okay.
75 for what, Randy?
75 attitude.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that 3 examples is good. So now we're going to draw a little, actually, I don't even know what that's called. You're going to group skills and knowledge with that little symbol, whatever that thing is. And you're going to write 15%. So the Carnegie Foundation found out that skills and knowledge combined are, for lack of a better term, I'll say worth 15% of this equation, which then of course makes attitude 85% of the success of individuals and or organizations. So Jeff, I think you hit the nail on the head in the respect that knowledge can be acquired, skills can be learned. Attitude's hard to teach. You either got it or you don't in a lot of cases. So I wrote a list. I should have instructed you guys to write your list, but I wrote a list. So we're going to go through this list real quick. So skills, knowledge, or attitude, what would you say trustworthy is?
Attitude.
Attitude.
Attitude. Being accountable?
Attitude.
Being connected?
Attitude.
Attitude, maybe some skill? Be
Yeah,
a good
little bit
networker?
of skill in there. Yeah,
Okay. How about being passionate?
definitely attitude.
Hmm.
A servant leader?
That's a skill.
Okay. Being kind?
Attitude.
Compassionate?
Attitude.
Honest?
Attitude.
Integrity?
Definitely attitude.
Mhm.
Fearless?
It's an attitude for sure.
Yeah.
Visionary?
Attitude.
About committed?
Attitude.
Disciplined?
I think discipline can be attitude and skills because I think that it's, definitely something you can learn, which is kind of what we do with Power Pods, right, Randy?
I agree.
Good point.
I agree. Being philanthropic?
Attitude.
Hmm.
Inspirational?
Attitude.
And fiscally responsible?
I think that one's a mix of skill and attitude.
Skill, attitude, maybe even some knowledge in there,
Yeah.
maybe all
Yeah.
three.
Mm-hmm.
Even on the ones that we had mixed, attitude was still a component. So we actually destroyed their research. We were at 100% as opposed to 85%. So you see everything that you guys thought of, the words that came to mind when you thought of a successful person or successful business, all revolved around attitude primarily, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, we're proving the research that the Carnegie Foundation did to say, hey, if you're going to become a business owner, Jeff, to your point, I can read things and learn things, but if I don't have the right attitude, I have probably a very short leash as to how well I'm going to succeed, or how much my success is going to look like, what my success is going to look like.
Wow.
Any questions about that or any comments?
I will. I for some reason always take an opportunity to put words in Jeff Jones's mouth, but I think what he would say is that this attitude, the 85% of it is again the things that come from love and a place of joy, as opposed to some of the things that can be a place of fear and anxiety. Right, Jeff? One of these times, Jeff's going to tell me that I'm wrong when
I keep mailing the checks. That's absolutely right. At the beginning of this, when I said head heart connection, that's exactly what it is, because you can think your way out of about anything. And
Mhm.
the only way to think and really get yourself into it is have some type of connection to what the experience is going to be like for a customer or a client. So.
I think also too, because I use Clifton Strengths Finder a lot. So when you think about what a strength is that each of us have, it's a innate talent that you're born with, and then you develop that, and you put some learning and some knowledge and skill learning into that, and then that just helps you become more of who you are. So I think that there's a lot of stuff connected with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was just looking up because I don't have them memorized like Rachel and probably others of you, but the BNI 7 core values, yeah, it's givers gain, building relationships, lifelong learning, traditions and innovation. That one may be skill and knowledge based, positive and supportive attitude, recognition and accountability. It's with the exception of one, it's pretty much attitude based.
Not only your attitude, right, but also the development of others. So you become who you hang with. And if you have a great network of people, i.e. in a BNI organization, and you're together once a week, maybe more, depending upon the relationships that develop, if someone's in the dumps, maybe their business is struggling, that being around positive people, that's going to help bring out their positive attitude, their stick-to-itiveness, so that they can stay focused on the prize, the reason why they got into the business in the first place, right?
Exactly.
And if you think of other, core values from other companies as well, which kind of becomes part of your vision and decision making through the way that you run your business, and those things that you hire and fire by, it's all attitude based, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
It is. So as a former business owner, I can tell you that the ones that underperformed had bad attitudes. It wasn't because they didn't know how to do what they were doing.
Right. And how many times, and I know my background is human resources, so I worked in that for a lot of years for different size companies, and there's lots of times when people are being let go and their futures being freed up, not because they didn't know how to do the job, but because they weren't the right fit for the culture that the companies were trying to build.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so key. And the thing is, so as a business owner or a team leader, you already have you already have your personality. So when it comes to building a culture, the only way you can really truly build a culture is to hire more people that have personalities like you, because you're all going to get along, you're all going to get it. If you try to build something that you're not, you're going to fail miserably, because the people that you bring in that fit the culture you think you're trying to build aren't going to jive with you, and it's just going to be a lot of headbutting. Does that make sense?
It does, but you also need to have, I don't believe that people should be well-rounded, but I believe that teams should be well-rounded. So if you're hiring from a strength perspective, you probably want people that have opposing strengths to yours. It's just the attitude that you use when you're building that team and making sure that, because if somebody has an opposing strength to me, they're going to drive me crazy because I'm not going to understand where they're coming from. But if I understand that's their strength and how I can lean into that and how I can how I can help them, it becomes this well-rounded team that can then be successful.
Oh, I totally agree.
I just want to make one side comment that, Lisa, I don't know if it's the Canadian thing or if it's HR spin, but I've never heard someone say of somebody being fired that their future is being freed up for them. It's just
It's how HR people sleep at night.
I use that when I counsel people. Give that employee the opportunity to succeed.
all right. Good attitude, guys.
Thank you.
My corporation always sent out little email notifications to the field or whatever. Because I never worked in the office. I was always in sales outside the office. And so we get the email updates on the letterhead that would say, so-and-so is no longer with the organization. They have decided to pursue other opportunities. It just doesn't say if it was voluntary or not.
With a little push out the door. Right.
Yeah.
Go find the right bus, right? You have the right people in the right seats on the right bus.
That's a great analogy. Use it all the time. Use it all the time. We're happy with who we have, or just are they doing the right thing? Actually, one of my clients readily admits that she hires a lot of great personalities, a lot of great attitudes, and she sticks them in places, and after a year or two realizes, yeah, maybe they need to be over here. And she plays a shell game a lot for trying to stop that from happening. What is this person good at? Let's stick them over there, and where they can not only succeed for themselves, but obviously help the organization succeed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how do we fix when there are attitude issues? And I'm just throwing this out for anybody, for Jim or anybody. When we find that within ourselves, or if we're working with somebody who we just know that they're not hitting that 85% attitude mark.
I ask open-ended questions. What are you struggling with right now? So-and-so, myself, whomever. Last movie you saw. When's the last time you remember your the attitudes in your office or the culture within your office being where you wanted it to be 2 years ago, 10 years ago, last week, whatever. You start digging into the other questions. Might find out it's a new hire. Might find out it's somebody close to retirement that's on autopilot. Might find out, who knows, all kinds of things. But you got to start asking a lot of questions to find out what the challenge is and how did we get from where we were to where we are.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things we can do for people is to be open and honest with them as far as, you know, if there's performance issues and it's because of an attitude. And absolutely, Jim asks those open-ended questions, but it's like, hey, I'm noticing this. I'm noticing that you're late every day. I'm noticing that you're short with the front office staff, whatever it is. And it's just, it becomes a bit of that kind of coaching conversation. And then again, yeah, what's going on? And then just trying to drill down to that problem, like Jim said. But I think it's, you know, we always want to avoid that confrontation or those difficult conversations because they're difficult, right? And you don't want to put somebody on the defensive. You want to do it in a very supportive way. And at the end of the day, you can try that, and it could just be that that person is not the right fit, right? You don't ever, your first step is never to fire somebody. It's always to try and figure out how you can support them, because maybe it's you as a manager hasn't clearly identified the expectations, the role. So this person is just trying to do whatever they can do, and they're just working with the unknown.
Right, which comes back to that observant leadership. That was one of the qualities somebody threw out. Thank you very much, Jim, and thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys coming on board.